Welcome everybody to another episode of Bot Talk. I'm Joe. This channel is Total Justice Gaming. Let's dive in. So, there was a recent episode of the Wossy that came out, and he was pondering why we don't see more of this particular deck. This is the Ultra Magnus Jetfire 2-tall deck. I like to also call it Armored Valkyrie because I'm a giant Macross fan, and Jetfire has a very long sordid history with the Macross franchise. But we're going to be looking at what the deck is like, my version at least. This is also one of the first times I've built a mixed deck. Usually I still tend to run a bit monocolored, so I am giving a mixed deck a try. So we're going to be looking at the two characters. Wossy gave a wonderful rundown through everybody. I run a little bit differently, but it is a deck profile, so I'm going to be naming things and going through stuff. So first off, we got Jetfire. Jetfire is a plain and ranged. He's a 5/15/1. Once we flip, that means we flip to attack. That means he can get anywhere between 7 and 9 damage in jet mode. And his ability, Bold 1. So that means he can get anywhere between 8 to 10 damage on a swing. Flipping him to bot mode, he is just ranged. He is a 4/15/1 with the ability of, when you flip to this mode, put an armor or a utility from your scrap pile onto this character. So this lets us go and dig and put wonderful things on Jetfire to make him last longer. And then moving on to Ultra Magnus. Major Ultra Magnus is a leader. He's a truck, and he's ranged. He is a 5/17/1. So again, if we flip, we are hitting anywhere between 7 points of damage or 9 points of damage with him. He also has the ability of, before the game begins, you may put an Ultra Magnus armor from your deck onto this. He also has Brave. So Ultra Magnus armor gives us a solid defense boost and a solid attack boost. We will grab it real quick. We'll run this one down right now rather than in the deck profile itself, but it allows Ultra Magnus to become a 7/3. So that means when we flip, we're potentially doing 9 to around, let me think, 2 double oranges is 4. So between 9 to 11 damage. And we will be defending, since we are a mixed deck, anywhere between 3, so anywhere between 5 defense to 4, 7 defense, meaning we can soak up quite a bit of things. Furthermore, since he's brave, that means we can draw fire away from Jetfire. Putting him into bot mode, he is a 6/17/1. Very shiny. Actually, I really like the way that the light is hitting that. That makes it look very dramatic. He has the ability of, when this attacks, if you flip at least 2 oranges and 2 blues, do 1 damage to each character. So that means he does a massive spread damage via, very similar to that of Neutron Bomb, or is it Proton Bomb? The big bomb that does 2 damage to everybody. However, if you have Ultra Magnus armor, it saves him from himself. Likewise, if Ultra Magnus armor is on Jetfire, Jetfire will not take the hit of Ultra Magnus shooting everything in sight. Together, these two make a 32 health deck, which is pretty decent. They come with decent health stats, or decent attack stats, although Jetfire really does have a better advantage of being in jet mode than he does in bot mode. There are ways in the deck to flip him over pretty quickly and make sure it's a very consistent way of flipping him. So we'll move on to the battle deck. Now, as I said, I do not have a lot of experience with mixed decks yet. So this is my first attempt. So we are going to be running predominantly orange. We do want this to be able to hit as hard as possible, as we are a 2-tall deck in a 4-wide world at the moment. So we are, of course, going to be running 3 copies of Grenade Launcher, so plus 4 damage, and then it falls off. We're going to be running Power Punch, which gives us Bold 3, then falls off. We are going to be running Noble's Blaster. This is a reoccurring attack card that gives us plus 2 damage, and Pierce 2 if we are firing on a Decepticon. I put this in for the blue, and of course, since it's reoccurable via the green, we can get this a bit more consistently. We only have 2 Autobots, meaning we can equip one with a spare should one be knocked off. We are, of course, going to be running 3 copies of Handheld Blaster to help get Ultra Magnus's ability to trigger. Also, we are really going to be running the Bold 1, but this does help us out on our defensive flips. 2 copies of Bashing Shield, so we can put it on and scrap an enemy armor while gaining defense. Also, we can get it pretty consistently as it's a green. 2 copies of Reflexive Armor. I put in Reflexive Armor because both the characters are ranged, and I am starting to notice that a bit more of the bots and cons are becoming melee-focused. Not entirely melee, let me correct myself. I'm starting to notice more bot modes are becoming melee characters. And while there's certainly a vast amount of ranged characters, I am starting to see more and more bot modes become melee. So my thought process on this is, again, we can consistently get this, much like Bashing Shield. We get a +1. We are able to attach to both characters, as both characters are ranged. And we get a small defensive bonus of it being a +2 armor while we are being attacked by a melee character. So right now we have stuff like Grimnizer, who's a melee character. A lot of the Predacons are melees. We do have quite a bit of melee out there. I'm not going to say it's 100% going to be consistent, but it is in blue that we can flip, and it is a +1 armor that we can continuously get back because of the green icon. So that was kind of my logic there. We are going to, of course, be running 3 copies of Improvised Shield because of the double orange. 2 copies of Incoming Transmission for the Draw 2, Plan 1. 2 copies of Ramming Speed. Again, I really do love the ability to target any upgrade my opponent has and just get rid of it. That's going to help out so much, especially with the bigger influx of Battle Masters coming. We're probably going to be seeing a lot more of this and a lot of other item removal, which is something we'll discuss about in a little bit later. To continue Ultra Magnus's thing, as we are a two tall deck, we are going to be running 3 copies of Squash Them Like Bugs. This allows us to be able to swing and do a large amount of spread damage across the board. I want to try and continuously use this on Ultra Magnus, as he is a 12-star, pardon the dink. He's a 12-star, so he will be hitting, he will trigger this more often than Jetfire, Jetfire only being a 10-star character, which is still pretty up there in terms of stars. As again, I said, we are in a 4-wide world right now, so there are a lot of characters that don't reach 10 stars in a 4-wide deck. Should you be facing a 3-wide deck, there's more likely that Jetfire running with Squash Them Like Bugs won't trigger. But then, of course, you can always swing down, but you won't get the full effect. So we're predominantly saving this for Ultra Magnus. We're, of course, running 3 copies of Supercharge for a quick burst of Bold 3. Flamethrower to give us Bold 2. Now, we are a 22-star deck. So, with Ultra Magnus Armor, that makes it a 24-star deck. So we're going to be running a single copy of Full Loadout. This will give us 4 double oranges. Its effect is actually also can be used. We don't have too many utilities, but this will allow us to just drop an armor and a weapon onto either Jetfire or Ultra Magnus. Of course, the aforementioned Ultra Magnus armor. Ultra Magnus armor can be reoccurred via Jetfire, and it will be able to go on Jetfire, giving him what I like to call his armor Valkyrie form. Also giving him a decent boost. It's Autobot only, which we, of course, meet, as this is a 2-tall Autobot deck. So it gives us a decent stat boost. We can consistently reoccur it from the discard pile, or scrap pile, excuse me, via Jetfire's ability. We start the game with it for free via Ultra Magnus. So we can get it and reoccur pretty consistently, and we'll be able to move it around via Quartermaster. So last 6 cards are white cards. We are running 3 copies of Escape Route. I really, really like Escape Route. I actually kind of like it better than Rapid Conversion. Especially in this deck, because we can consistently get it. Again, it has a green icon. It just says flip one of your characters from bot mode to alt mode. This really, really helps once we flip Jetfire for the turn into bot mode to get an armor or utility from the scrap pile back onto, meaning Ultra Magnus armor. We can flip him back to bot mode and take full advantage of him being in jet, which gives us the bold 1, possibly bold 3 if we have a flamethrower on him, plus the Ultra Magnus armor. I just like to see a bit more consistency in being able to get the escape routes whenever I need them to be able to make maximum use of them. Likewise, if we do it on Ultra Magnus, this could potentially this will flip him into truck mode, which will allow him to regain Brave, which we can use to take the heat off of Jetfire for a little bit before we want to go back into bot mode on Ultra Magnus. So this is why I like Escape Route. I know Rapid Conversion is a really, really good card, and I believe it's called Rollout. I'm not too familiar with a lot of set 1 cards yet. I'm still trying to save it to buy a couple boxes of set 1. But I do believe it's Rollout. But I like this just because we only in this particular deck we only really need to flip to alt mode once we're in bot mode for certain things. And again, with the green icon, we can see it more consistently rather than just luck of the draw because of the green icon. And then the final 3 cards in our deck is 2 copies of Quartermaster, or excuse me, 3 copies of Quartermaster. This allows us to move a upgrade from one character to another, meaning if we reoccur the Ultra Magnus armor via Jetfire, we can play Quartermaster and slide it back onto Ultra Magnus. And that's really its only function here other than it being a white card. We can't really utilize the other effect real well because there are no Battle Masters in the deck, but this does let us slide that armor off of Jetfire back over to Ultra Magnus. So that is the deck. I hope you guys enjoy it. The biggest issue I see right now with this deck was also discussed via Wossy is there's a lot of item and armor removal in the game right now. So we are going to be consistently relying on Jetfire to reoccur that armor as often as possible. That being said, I still think that is one of the biggest issues this deck will face right now is we are facing a lot of 4-wide, a lot of pierce that the armors just can't soak through. We are sitting at a hefty 32 health. The sideboard could probably have 2 of the energy packs that we can stick on Ultra Magnus. Since unfortunately Jetfire is not 11 stars, he cannot equip an energy pack to give him the additional 4 health. Again, they can just knock that off easily because we have such a vast amount of upgrade removal in the game right now. That being said, I think this is a fun deck. I think more people need to give this a shot because these 2 in tandem can hit for very, very big numbers. You have a decent amount of health. There's a very, very good amount of armor selection that you can put on them to soften blows. Ultra Magnus armor can consistently come to you via Jetfire's ability. I think this is a fantastic deck, and I think, much like Wossy said, this needs to see more play. This needs to see more testing. And I think this is also one of the decks that will get a lot better once set 4 comes out, because we can try new things. We can make this a better Pierce deck. There will be better orange cards coming out. There will be better blue cards coming out that can enhance this further. But I do think this is a very, very solid deck and needs to see more love. So guys, that's Bot Talk this week. I will try to come back sooner with another deck. Life's just been super crazy for me, as you saw in the update video, which you can go find in the archives. We're trying to get a store set up. I'm trying to get more camera equipment so we can do match videos down the line. And that's all just depending on when the store comes. And I'm just waiting for set 4 for more decks to come out that pique my interest. The one thing I can promise is you definitely will see an upgraded version of Hot Treads, which was my orange tank deck, because I love tanks, and set 4 is just a love letter to tanks. But that being said, this is Armor Valkyrie. It's Jetfire Ultra Magnus. Guys, if you like the videos or have comments, subscribe, hit the bell. Can't believe I had to say hit the bell now. Hit the bell, leave comments. I love talking to everybody. The community is so fantastic. And I will see you guys soon. Hail Megatron.